Okay. So, you want to hear a story about marijuana? Well, I have a story to tell. This is a flaming chill, one I just smoked a while ago. This is the lighter, and this is a Suffy cloth. This is Indian milk tea. These two go together. This is our passport for this journey. It's me back in the 80s, and I take you to India 40 years ago. Here are the stamps from 82. December the 3rd, 1981 is when I first reached India. I was down in Britain, but these are sadhus. Here they are in their tent. This is on the path to Amarnath Cave, where the road ends. Here's Swami Ji. And this is a congery next to him. Here's another picture of Swami Ji. This is my first book. It turned into this book. This book is the stories that Swami Ji talked. Swami Ji, the whole time I was with him, I never saw him speak. I never saw him yawn. I never saw him sleep. When I talk about tea, this is Food, Water, Air. This is my first book. It turned into this book in India. This book, the back cover is How to Make a Cup of Tea. A cup of tea is why sadhus sit so long. Is because they have this relationship with the bacteria that's in their stomach. This ability to drink the tea and fulfill all your vitamin B12 is what makes the sadhu thing, the Hindu vegetarian thing, so great. And this book contains no onions and garlic. And the reason there's no onions and garlic was because there was no corn until, 1492 with Columbus? And India was so much older than that. All food is sunlight, concentrated sunlight. There can be no enlightenment unless you understand food. This is my story about being in Humboldt County. I've been in Humboldt County since I was homeless. When I was 20, my parents said you either have to change or you have to leave after my dad found some marijuana joints in my car. And I chose to leave. And I ended up on Humboldt County in Garville on the 4th of July with one phone number. And the next day, this adventure happened that took me to India. I never would have gone to India if it hadn't have been for me being homeless. So I wrote that into a movie. And then I wrote a book into a movie. So we're here to talk about a chillum. This is a chillum I just smoked. And so let me show you what a chillum is. Let me make you your chillum. I'm gonna take that off. And let me take the stone out. And then we just wipe it real quick. And we wipe the stone. If you want to see what a chillum is, I'm just going to show you real quick. I showed you the chillum. And we put the stone in. And then we have our marijuana. We put that on top. What we're doing is putting a layer in there. And then we got all this hash, right? And good Kashmiri hash, this is what you gotta have, not cluckers. Because it's so hard. Alright, so I'm breaking that up. Here we go. Put our big old chunk in there. Can you see that? I'm going to put some weed around the outside. I'm going to flatten this down. Then I'm going to take this can, the walnut charcoal, and put that on top. Alright. And then we take a piece of tinfoil, aluminum foil, put that on top of there, and then we poke a hole in it. That is a Kashmiri chillum. The object of this is to smoke just the gas. All this other stuff is crap. This should be hard. The harder it is, the better. Right? So let me explain what this is. Waste of a good chillum. All right. So this is pipestone from Pipestone, Minnesota. It is easily hand carved. When you look at Indians, this is what they have made their peace pipe out in the Midwest. I traded weed for this 40 years ago. This has never had cash value. The most important thing, so it needs to be thick on the top and thin on the bottom. In India and Kashmir, it's made out of clay because it has to take the heat. So it has to be hot on the top. This pipe is unique because this clay takes the heat and moves it away. And it never gets hot. But I left it thick and rough, all right? So inside is a stone. This is my stone. A stone is not a rock. It has to be able to take the heat of a fire of 50 cigarettes. So if we're gonna put a huge flame on top of this. So if you notice, the stone has a taper and the chillum has a taper. And it tapers back out at the bottom. So you use your little stick and you get a good seal. In India, this is a baby chillum. Kashmiri chillum is at least, the bowl is as big as this, because you got a round of people going around. And this has been modernized. This is not Lord Shiva's chillum. Lord Shiva, hash and marijuana are here for Lord Shiva. In every Lord Shiva's temple in India, people are smoking marijuana, hash, and chillum pipes like this in a purity way. Everything's about purity. So the first thing we need is a layer of tobacco material. In India, we had molasses tobacco, where they actually had the leaves and they put tobacco molasses on them, and they chopped them all up for the hookahs, for the Islam people. And it came in coarse, medium, and fine. And I would take it after I got the fine and rub it in my hands, and it would look like brown sugar. This is just good old Humboldt County weed, the best I could get. It makes you cough, but I'm working on the tobacco thing. So we put a good layer in the bottom. And then we want our hash. Now let's talk a little about hash. Hash comes from a powder. It lasts and lasts and never goes bad. So this is some hash powder here. You can see it's just powder, right? But when it's twisted, it turns into this. You cannot compress a liquid. But when you twist and wring out your laundry, you can get all the water out. So the way you make hash is you have a machine like this. This is called a pollinator. This is smuggled illegally in the Humboldt County when it was against the law. And basically, what it is a drum that goes round and round. Put it over here so you can get out. With silk screen on it. It has one layer up. And here it is. So you put the weed inside this, and close it up, and you put this whole thing inside the freezer. The magic is the silk screen. when marijuana gets cold, the hash will slip through this silk screen and nothing else will. So all this powder you see here was at the bottom of that. And I just scraped it out and put it in there. So you can make one, but these things here are the American way. The way that you did in India, they had it flat, and there's different ways. Okay. So the next step in making hash is using corn husks. Now, corn husks, again, they didn't come around until 1492. So before this, in Kashmir, they used the lotus leaves. And so if you look at this hash that's here, you can still see some of the corn husk on it. That's fine, let it smoke. You put it in here and you twist it up, and I can do a whole video on that. So the best hash, they said, was above 10,000 feet. And it grew in fields. And what they did was they brought it into a room and they whipped it. And the best stuff, they said, went to the ceiling. The next grade went to the walls, and the rest went to the floor. And that's probably what we were smoking at the ashram. Because they were at one time talking about getting the stuff that got to the ceiling, but they'd have to buy a whole field. And Swami Ji was totally against it, because he was right. You wouldn't have got it. You would have got something close to it, but it was too much of a valuable commodity at that time. But then again, this is back before things changed. All right, so here I'm going to put in again. And so I need a little bit of weed. I'll get a good Humboldt County bud out of here. Now, believe it or not, I think I won the first marijuana smoking contest, bud contest in Humboldt County one time. I was with, at the end, what was that? Crooked Prairie Road. We once had a restaurant called Que Pasa in Garberville. And those people, they had a contest at their house. And I won it with my purple. Anyway, that was back in, 81. So, all right, so now we need our charcoal. So this is walnut shells. And I made another video, and that's really what it is walnut shells that they turn to charcoal. So what we do is we want to take some of this, put our fingers around this, and make as tall a pile as you can. I remember it looked like an ice cream scoop. I used to put it on so much in Kashmir, in the ashram. I haven't talked about Kashmir. Kashmir is the most beautiful place in the world, and so it's a jewel. And you cannot share something so valuable. It is also the most dangerous place in all the world. It's not like it used to be. It is beyond dangerous. But I will do another video. This is all about Kashmir. The whole goal of this video and all this is really to bring hot water to Kashmir. Because if we bring hot water to Kashmir, then maybe some of the sadhus will stay over the winter and we can build something. So you saw me put as much as I could, and I covered it with this tinfoil. Now, tinfoil wasn't around. What we used for tinfoil came from cigarette packs. People would save up in that little piece, you could fold it in half, and they would take this and they would take their suffy and they would wet it, really wet, and you'd go around it like this, without that in there, and you would pull it once, and that would kind of glue it on there. And that's so important, because this stuff, when it's glowing and this falls off, and I don't care how fast you move, you are going to burn your clothes. It's going to be burn. Swami Ji once, he had this, well, let's put it this way. In India, in Kashmir, there's no glass in the windows. There's no heat. So to stay warm, you had something like this. This is called a fern. And basically, it's a large jacket that goes all the way around you and lets you be a tent inside. And Swami Ji had one of these, and it was all burnt off because there was no aluminum foil. And you would sit next to the fire and take a pair of clips there and pick up the charcoal and put it on top, and hope you don't cough because it'll go all over you. So this is where this came in. And my only improvement is to take a rubber band and go around it once. or twice. Which is good unless a rubber band breaks, and then it really scares the hell out of you. All right. So here's our chillum. And the last thing we need to talk about is the Sufi cloth. The Sufi cloth is basically a bandage. You can see through it. This is a cheesecloth. But I found that I really like this is better. It's a Kendall medical bandage, 6715. And I like it because it's sterilized, it's washed, and this one bandage will make 3. So here again, here's my Sufi cloth. I've been using it. And you want it open and fluffy. And so what we need to do here is we have water. And this needs to be wet. This is actually a lota. This is what we carried water in, or went to the bathroom with. And you squeeze out the water. You want enough water squeezed out that you don't have water. But then again, you want enough water that it's gotta work. All right, so here we go. Now that's ready. And the last thing we need is someone to help us do this. And so what I've done is I created, this is a hemp string, right? And I've taken beeswax, and you just pull it over the beeswax, and then you'll make a flame. So this is what I made up for smoking alone. All right, move this aside. Oh, let's see if this will work for me. Try it again here. It should like stick to the end. But that's all I need. All right. So again, Hinduism and the chillum go together, especially Lord Shiva. When a chillum pipe is lit, the sadhus would say an enchantment. And I'm not going to say the Hindu words, but it like light banishes all hardship. Dump out your bad thoughts and concentrate on love and goodwill. Ignorant, open your eyes and take a look at the world. I like it like it is, the sound of the circle of bless, bless, bless. Irritant, immaculate, remover of all sorrow. And all I want to say is I always go home. Okay. So we went through all this and we went through all that, and so let's smoke this chum. But let's talk one thing about Kashmir. Kashmir didn't exist until the British blasted a road back up to it. And what I'm saying is that Islam took control of everything. Twice they took everybody in the valley and controlled everything in the valley. And everything Hindu was destroyed. The first time they realized that they had to have them back. And the second time it was a military campaign of a truly evil person. And everything that was Hindu disappeared. It wasn't until the British came and blasted a road to the valley, that the Hindus came back. And that's the goal of all of this, is to bring hot water to Kashmir. At one time, I built the last temple on the holiest hill of all the world, on Hari Parbat, because I wanted to go to Kashmir to smoke a flaming chillum. I had been in Humboldt County, and I met Gus, and I gave her $1,000 to send to India. And she once said that all the weed in Humboldt County is bunk compared to the worst hash in Kashmir. And she's right. Smoking hash is much better than smoking weed. But then again, you have to understand what weed is and what you are smoking, because it's really a handcrafted product. And so Kashmir, it's a magical place that has been destroyed. And I like to bring enlightenment back to it. So off we go. Here's my tea. Tea and chillum. So we light this up and we smoke a flaming chillum. Lord Shiva. Again, it's the gases you're trying to smoke. You're not trying to smoke the pipe. Flaming tone. If there's a flame, there's ash in there. If there's no flame, try again. So when I arrived in Kashmir, it was January. I arrived in flip-flops. I smoked my first joint, and the cold went away.